Hello and welcome to Conlang Collagraph's Everyday Vulcan Language Lessons, with all credit to Mark R. Gardner for creating the language. Lesson 6. I can verb. How to be able to do things. Kupstari ben nashve Vulkansu. I can speak Vulcan. Okay, it might not be exactly true yet, but you can sure speak a lot more of it than when you started, yeah? So, the basic way to be able to say can or able to is the little helper verb koop, koop. And the way to say to speak is stariben, stariben. Koop isn't a prefix, it just sits in front of the verb. So, can speak is koop stariben, koop stariben. Once you shove these words together, they behave as a unit just like any other verb. So, how do you say I can speak? Kupstari ben nashve. Kupstari ben nashve. And, like we said at the beginning, Kupstari ben nashve Vulkansu. Kupstari ben nashve Vulkansu. But wait, you're saying, doesn't Vulkansu mean a Vulcan? Congrats, you are correct! But the su ending that we talked about can also actually refer to a language when it's attached to a place name. So, the word Andorsu that we learned? Yeah, that can also mean the Andorian language. So, how would you say, you can speak Andorian? Kupstariben du Andorsu. Kupstariben du Andorsu. Now, koop is what's often called a helper verb rather than just a verb. There's a couple of other helper verbs in Vulcan that work the exact same way. One of them is must, have to, vun, vun. So if, instead of being able to speak Vulcan, you need to speak it, vunstariben nashve Vulkansu, vunstariben nashve Vulkansu. Now, punctuation-wise, vun actually follows the same pattern as dungi. It sits in front of tor verbs and is prefixed to au verbs and irregular verbs. There's actually a reason for this, which we haven't gotten into yet. Something called the rule of three. The rule of three states that you can never have more than 3 hyphenated roots in a single word. So the longest words you can have are things like refusion, faltorpan, faltorpan. This was the name of the ceremony in Star Trek III where Spock's Katra is refused with his rescued body. You might recognize that the faltor part sounds kind of verby. That's because it is. Rejoin, faltor, faltor. The pan part isn't separately listed, unfortunately. Perhaps it's like if the English turned rejoin into rejoination, though the usual suffix for that is s, or something like ceremony, though it's not related to the listed word for ceremony. Anyway, you remember how I said that adjectives have combining and non-combining forms? Well, this is one of those times when you have to use the non-combining form. If you wanted to say the wet refusion, I don't know, just roll with it, you would have to say masupik faltorpan. Masupik faltorpan. If you tried to prefix masup instead, you would break the rule of 3. This, to roll back around to verbs, is why helper verbs and tense markings aren't prefixed onto tor verbs. Not because it directly breaks the rule of 3, but because it fills the last slot, and sometimes you need that for other things. So, after those 16 or so side notes, let's get back to vun. You must call the doctor. Vunvutau tu hasu. Vunvutau tu hasu. Okay, one more helper verb, which follows the same prefixing rules as vun. May or might. Lao. Lao. I might rejoin the Andorian. La faltor nashve andorsu. La faltor nashve andorsu. I might be awake. Lau namtor nashve ryukanik, or Lau nashve ryukanik. This is another one where, since it doesn't prefix to namtor, you can still drop the verb. La does deserve a special note, though. While officially it means might, you may occasionally actually see it used to mean the may of may the force be with you. Strictly speaking, that would be translated, the force might be with you, but c'est la vie, or, in Vulcan, kaid. This is an ad hoc thing that's gained some traction in the Vulcan community for the simple reason that may it be is a big ol' semantic gap, aka a place where the way to express the meaning doesn't exist. The only other thing to do is rephrase the sentence and use let instead, but of course, let the force be with you just doesn't mean exactly the same thing. As for how to say let, let's save that for the lesson on multiple verbs.